So what happens when a modern, high-tech war isn't just about borders or resources, but about fulfilling an ancient, world-ending prophecy? Today we're exploring how eschatology, the study of the end of the world, is becoming this really surprising and powerful lens for understanding modern geopolitics.
This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of it. Wars aren't just fought with weapons, they're fought with stories. Narratives that give meaning to sacrifice and get whole populations fired up in a way that pure strategy just never could.
And this is the question that changes everything. Because when a conflict is seen as a necessary step in some grand divine plan, well, the normal rules of politics and warfare, they kind of go out the window. The stakes become absolutely cosmic.
Okay, so to really get a grip on this whole thing, there's a key concept we need to understand. It's a term for this very specific spot where the divine and the political collide.
And here it is, geotheological framing. Sounds a little academic, right? But just think of it like putting on a special pair of glasses. It's when people look at what's happening today, a battle, a treaty, the rise of a nation, and they see it not as random history, but as the direct fulfillment of ancient prophecy playing out right in front of us. And this reframes everything. The soldiers on the ground might be fighting a totally modern battle, but through this lens, they become players in a much older, cosmic story. A border dispute isn't just about a line on a map anymore. Nope, it's a preordained event on a sacred timeline. Now, at the heart of so many Islamic end times narratives is this one single, incredibly powerful figure, the Dajjal. To understand how these prophecies are being interpreted today, we first have to understand who, or maybe what, he is believed to be.
Al-Masih ad-Dajjal. It translates to the false messiah or the deceiver. Now, it's interesting, he's not actually mentioned in the Quran, but he's a huge figure in the Hadith, which are the collected sayings and traditions of the Prophet Muhammad. And according to these texts, he's this incredibly powerful figure who's going to show up near the end of time, perform all of these fake miracles, and try to lead humanity astray.
And this contrast you see here is absolutely key to understanding his role. In Islam, Jesus, or Isa, is known as Al-Masih, the true Messiah. He's a figure of light and salvation. The Dajjal tries to hijack that very title, making him Al-Masih ad-Dajjal, the false Messiah, the ultimate imposter. It's the ultimate deception, right? Using the language of salvation to cause tribulation.
The Hadith literature gives us a very specific profile of the Dajjal. He's described as being blind in one eye, a physical sign of his spiritual corruption. He's supposed to perform these incredible feats that look just like divine miracles, but it's all a deception, powered by demonic forces. The whole thing is designed to be the ultimate test of faith.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting. While those core descriptions are widely known, the interpretation of who or what the Dajjal actually represents, well, that's far from simple. Different Islamic traditions have very, very different views. This table breaks down those key differences really well. For most Sunni and 12-verse Shia Muslims, you can see in the top two rows, the Dajjal is a literal man, a specific person who will show up and be physically defeated. But then you look at that third row. The Ahmadi interpretation is radically different. For them, the Dajjal isn't a person at all, but a system, a symbolic representation of materialist colonial power, and he's not defeated by a sword, but by arguments and teachings.
So let's look at one of those modern, symbolic interpretations. The Islamic scholar, Sheikh Imran Hosein, for example, he reads these prophecies not just as some future event, but as a process that's been unfolding for centuries through the shifting of global power.
Hosein outlines what he calls the three Paxes theory. He basically interprets history as a sequence. First, you had Pax Britannica, the age of the British Empire. He argues that gave way to what we have now, Pax Americana. But the really crucial part of his theory is the third stage. He proposes a future Pax Judaica, an era of Israeli dominance, which, in his view, sets the final stage for the Dajjal.
So how does all this circle back to the real world? Well, whether these are seen as literal prophecies or just symbolic narratives, this geotheological framing has very, very real consequences. It actively changes how people and nations behave on the world stage.
As this slide lays out, there are four huge risks. First, compromise fails. If you believe you're carrying out a divine plan, negotiation can start to look a lot like disobedience. Second, escalation. Your opponents are no longer just political rivals. They're cast as metaphysical evil. And that leads directly to misinterpretation, where every strategic move is seen as religiously motivated. And finally, all of this creates intense polarization, boiling down complex geopolitical realities to a simple story of good versus evil.
And it is so critical to understand that these interpretations are not monolithic, not at all. For example, while some frame the modern state of Israel as fulfilling a prophecy, others vehemently disagree. This quote here is from Rabbi Meir Hirsch of Neturei Karta, an anti-Zionist Orthodox Jewish group. Zionism, of course, being the movement for a Jewish state. For them, the state of Israel is not a divine fulfillment, but a political movement that actually contradicts their religious beliefs.
So as we wrap up, it's pretty clear that these ancient stories are not just dormant relics collecting dust. They are active, living narratives that are being used to interpret and, in some cases, to justify the events we see in our headlines every single day.
And this is the ultimate takeaway. It almost doesn't matter if you personally believe in these prophecies. What matters is that enough people do. This geotheological framing is a powerful force that is actively shaping our world. It's a narrative that can turn compromise into betrayal and escalation into destiny.
Which leaves us with one final critical question to chew on. Are modern events truly fulfilling ancient prophecies? Or are ancient prophecies being used as a powerful tool to shape modern politics? The answer to that question, well, it just might define our future.